Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something truly important to you without posting about it, without waiting for someone to say good job, without hoping for applause? The truth is, no one is really keeping score. No one is secretly counting your late nights, your silent tears, or the dreams you hold close to your heart when the lights go out. And while that might sound harsh at first, it's actually one of the most liberating truths you'll ever discover. Because the moment you stop waiting for the world to notice you, to clap for you, to validate your worth, that's when you finally give yourself permission to transform. From the inside out. Imagine this: you're climbing a mountain alone. No one's watching. There's no drone filming you from above, no friend cheering you on, no Instagram story to prove you made it. Just you, your heartbeat, and each step. That's the purest kind of growth, when you keep going simply because you promised yourself you would. And that's exactly where your real life begins. In a world obsessed with likes, views, and comments, it's easy to start believing that every move needs an audience. But what if I told you that some of the most powerful transformations happen in silence? When no one is watching. When no one is clapping. The Stoics knew this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, wrote about it centuries ago. He didn't wait for anyone's approval to do what he knew was right. He acted from his own core values, not because someone else said good job, but because it aligned with who he chose to be. What if, instead of waiting for others to tell you you're enough, you decided you already are? What if you stopped performing and started living? This video isn't here to give you quick motivational sugar highs or empty quotes to make you feel good for a few minutes. It's here to shake you. To wake you up to a life where you stop handing your power to strangers and start building a foundation so strong it doesn't move even when no one is there to see it. Today, I'm going to share with you 12 timeless Stoic lessons. These are not just pretty words for your journal. These are tools that will help you stop chasing approval, stop wasting energy on people who don't truly see you, and start building a life that feels deeply yours. So, I have one question for you before we dive in. Are you ready to stop living for applause and start living for your own peace? Because if you are, this might be the moment everything begins to change. Let's get started. Let's talk about something most people don't want to hear: no one is coming to save you. I know, it sounds heavy, maybe even harsh. But if you let it sink in, it might just be the most freeing thing you'll ever hear. Because here's the truth: while you're sitting there, waiting for the perfect moment, the right opportunity, or that one person to magically appear and fix everything, life is slipping by. We all do it. We imagine that someday, someone will show up and pull us out of the job we hate, heal our broken hearts, or give us that push we've been waiting for to finally chase our dreams. We think there's a rescue team out there, standing by with ropes and ladders, ready to pull us out of our personal wells. But there isn't. There's an old story that perfectly captures this. A man falls into a deep, muddy well. At first, he screams and looks up, hoping someone will pass by and hear him. Days go by, nothing. He starts to lose hope. But in a moment of desperation, he begins digging around in the mud at his feet. His hands are raw, his body exhausted. But then, he feels something solid under the dirt. Steps. Steps that had always been there, waiting to be uncovered. It turns out, the only way out was always within his reach. He just had to stop looking up for help and start looking down at the ground beneath him, at his own strength. Think about it. What are you waiting for today? A sign? Someone's approval? The perfect timing? What if I told you that sign is never coming, and that's actually the best news ever? Because it means you no longer have to wait. You can stop outsourcing your life to other people's opinions or circumstances you can't control. You can start today. Here's something powerful you can do right now. Take a piece of paper and write down everything you're waiting for. Maybe it's I'll start my business when I feel ready, or I'll move to a new city when I have more money, or I'll finally speak up when they understand me. Write them all down. Then, cross them out. One by one. Because no one is coming to give you permission. No one is coming to tell you you're enough. The only person who can climb out of that well is you. The only person who can build the life you dream of is you. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing you're free from needing someone else to approve your dreams. What would you do differently? What step would you take if you weren't waiting for anyone to save you? This is exactly what the Stoics meant when they talked about personal responsibility and self leadership. Epictetus said, "Don't hope that events will turn out the way you want. Welcome events in whichever way they happen." This is the path to peace. When you embrace that no rescue is coming, you start to find the steps beneath your feet, your strength, your ideas, your courage. And that is when real transformation begins. So today, I challenge you, stop waiting. Stop looking up. Start digging into your own mud. The steps are there. The way out has always been within you. No one is coming to save you, and that's exactly why you're finally free to save yourself. We all carry a story. Some chapters are bright and joyful, others are heavy and unspoken, the parts we try to hide even from ourselves. Maybe your story started in a home where feelings were treated like awkward guests. Where you learned early on to keep your voice down, to keep the peace, to always look fine even when your heart was breaking. That's exactly what happened to Andrea Owen. She grew up in a family where emotions were swept under the rug, where vulnerability wasn't an option. To survive, she became the good girl, the one who never caused trouble, who blended in, who was always pleasant. From the outside, her life looked perfect. But inside, she was living on autopilot, disconnected from her real self. One day, she looked in the mirror and realized she didn't know who she was anymore. Was she living by choice, or just by habit? Andrea decided to do something radical. She sat down with a notebook and started to write her story, but this time from a new perspective, not as the scared little girl who had to adapt, but as the strong, grown woman she had become. She realized that so much of what she thought was her personality was actually a defense mechanism. A mask she had worn for so long, she forgot it wasn't really her. And here's the thing, your story doesn't define you, but it does shape you. It gives you a blueprint, but it doesn't have to be your destiny. I want you to think about this. What parts of your life today feel like they belong to you, and which parts feel like they were handed to you by your past? Maybe you think you're bad with money, but is that really true, or was that just something you absorbed as a kid? Maybe you think love always has to hurt, but is that because that's what you saw growing up? The Stoics believed that we should question our impulses and habits, to ask ourselves, is this truly mine, or is it borrowed? Marcus Aurelius reflected each night, not on whether he was perfect, but whether he acted from his own rational nature or from someone else's expectations. So here's an exercise, and trust me, it might feel uncomfortable, but it's worth it. Find a quiet space. Grab a notebook, light a candle if it helps set the mood. Write down a memory from your childhood that still affects you today. Write it exactly as you remember it. Then, write it again, but this time, from your perspective now. From the wiser, stronger, more compassionate you. Ask yourself, does this memory still represent who I am today? Or is it time to let it go? When you begin to rewrite your story, you start to take your power back. You realize that you don't have to keep replaying old chapters on repeat. You get to choose how the next pages look. And remember, your past is a part of you, but it is not all of you. You are not the scared child anymore. You are the author now. So, my friend, what story have you been telling yourself? And more importantly, are you ready to rewrite it? Let's talk about your circle. The people you choose to let into your life. Most of us underestimate just how powerful our environment is. We think that as long as we're strong enough, we can handle any crowd. But the truth? The people around you shape you more than you realize. Have you ever left a dinner or a coffee catch-up feeling completely drained, like you just ran a marathon in your mind? Maybe you thought it was normal. You told yourself, well, that's just socializing. But what if it's not? There's a term I love, ultra-processed relationships. Just like junk food, they feel fun and satisfying in the moment, but afterward, they leave you feeling empty, heavy, even sick. You laugh, you perform, you try to fit in. But when you get home, there's that hollow echo inside you. We often surround ourselves with people who don't really see us. People who keep us small without even realizing it. They might not insult you outright, but they subtly dim your light. They question your dreams with "are you sure?" or remind you of your old failures every time you try to grow. The Stoics believed deeply in protecting your inner world. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." It sounds simple, but it's life-changing. So here's a challenge, and it might shake you up a bit. Take a piece of paper and write down the 5 people you spend the most time with each week. Don't overthink it, just write the first names that come to mind. Next to each name, note down how you feel after spending time with them. Use words or even emojis if it helps: lighter, inspired, drained, small, energized, confused. Then, look at that list. Which connections are feeding your growth, and which ones are slowly eating away at your energy? If you're feeling brave, take it one step further. Try a 48-hour social fast from the person who drains you the most. Don't make a big announcement or create drama. Just step back quietly and observe how your mind, your mood, and even your body react. You might be surprised by what you discover. And remember, there are also vitamin people out there, the ones who don't necessarily flatter you or tell you what you want to hear, but who support your evolution. They respect your silence. They challenge you to be better without pushing you down. Imagine this: what would your life look like if you spent more time with people who made you feel like the best version of yourself? People who remind you of your potential instead of your fears. You can read every book, listen to every motivational podcast, and repeat all the affirmations in the world, but if your environment is toxic, your growth will always be limited. So today, I want you to ask yourself honestly, who in my life is medicine, and who is poison? Because you deserve a circle that nourishes you, not one that slowly starves your spirit. Choose your people like you would choose your medicine, carefully, intentionally, and with love for yourself. Let's talk about a trap that so many of us fall into: mistaking comfort for peace. On the outside, you might seem calm. You nod, you smile, you keep the conversations light. Everyone thinks you're easygoing, chill, the peacemaker. But inside? There's a storm that never really settles. I've been there. I remember sitting at a family dinner once, when a relative, with his usual smug grin, made a joke about my career. He said, "Well, what do you know about stress? You just make videos and talk all day." Everyone laughed. And I laughed too. I bowed my head, changed the subject, pretended it was fine. But deep down, it stung. I felt unseen, misunderstood, and small. Later that night, lying in bed, that comment kept echoing in my mind. I wasn't angry at him, I was disappointed in myself. Because I realized I wasn't quiet out of maturity or wisdom. I was quiet out of fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of rocking the boat. Fear of not being liked. That wasn't peace. That was surrender. True peace isn't about avoiding fights or pretending you're okay with everything. It's about living in alignment with your values, your truth, and your self-respect, even if that means some people get uncomfortable. Marcus Aurelius didn't run an empire by avoiding difficult conversations. He didn't achieve inner calm by keeping everyone happy. He faced betrayal, war, illness, and every night he asked himself one question: did I act in line with my principles today? So here's something to reflect on. The next time you feel the urge to stay silent, ask yourself, am I letting this go because it truly doesn't matter, or because I'm afraid of conflict? Say it out loud if you have to. Try it first in front of a mirror. You'll feel the difference in your body immediately. That tightness in your chest, that tension in your shoulders? That's not peace. That's repression. Imagine how your life might change if you stopped choosing comfort over authenticity. If you dared to say, that actually hurt me, or I don't agree, or even, I need something different. Start small. Maybe it's finally voicing an idea at work you've been holding back. Maybe it's telling a friend how their comment really made you feel. Maybe it's simply being honest with yourself about what you actually want. It won't feel easy. It won't feel peaceful at first. But real peace isn't about keeping your life smooth on the surface, it's about creating a deep, unwavering stillness within. The Stoics taught that external calm doesn't mean much if inside you're at war with yourself. Real peace is built on courage, not comfort. So, my friend, ask yourself, are you truly at peace, or are you just comfortable? Because if your life is only comfortable but never alive, you're not at peace. You're stuck. Remember, true peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of courage. It's looking at yourself in the mirror and knowing you honored your truth today. And that, more than any forced smile or quiet dinner, is where a steady, resilient life begins. Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable we've become with silence? We live in a world that worships noise. Every moment is filled with notifications, podcasts, news, background music. We scroll, we binge, we constantly consume. And slowly, without realizing it, we become addicted to that noise. But what if I told you that silence isn't empty? It's actually where your real answers live. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, knew this better than anyone. At the end of each day, he would retreat into a quiet space, no audience, no distractions. Just him and his journal, asking himself the hard questions. Did I act wisely today? Did I stay true to my principles? Or did I let my impulses and outside noise steer my decisions? That silent space was his greatest strength. It was where he connected to his core, the part of him that no external chaos could touch. Now think about your own life. When was the last time you ate breakfast without scrolling your phone? Or took a walk without headphones? Or sat quietly without trying to be productive? Most of us run from silence because we're afraid of what we might hear when the noise stops. Our mind feels like a shaken snow globe, thoughts swirling around, never settling. But if we never let it rest, we never see clearly. What if your constant busyness isn't a sign of ambition, but a way to avoid facing your own truth? Here's a challenge, and it might feel awkward at first. Tomorrow morning, try having breakfast in complete silence. No music, no phone, no TV. Just you, your thoughts, and the simple act of eating. At first, you'll feel restless. Your mind will itch to grab the phone. But stay with it. Notice the taste of your food. Listen to your own breath. Feel your mind start to quiet down, even if just for a moment. Then, take it a step further, start a blank page ritual. Set aside 1 minute every day to write anything that comes up in your mind. Don't filter it. Don't worry if it sounds silly. Just let it flow. Because the words that come out in silence are often the words you need to hear most. And finally, spend time simply observing. Go outside. Look at a tree, the sky, the small cracks in the sidewalk, without music, without trying to capture it for social media. Just be there. The Stoics believed that true strength isn't about how much you can carry on your shoulders, but how deeply you can listen to yourself. Epictetus said, if you wish to be wise, first learn to listen to yourself. When you remove the noise, you make space for real clarity. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop being a product of the outside world and start becoming the author of your own inner world. So, my friend, are you brave enough to meet yourself in the quiet? Because that silence you keep avoiding might be exactly where your real power lives. Let's be real, your attention is for sale. Every day, there's a silent auction happening for your mind. Social media apps, news alerts, ads, endless notifications, all fighting to grab a piece of you. Before you even finish your morning coffee, you've already given away precious energy to 10 different things that don't actually matter to you. Have you ever wondered why it feels so hard to focus on your own goals? It's not because you're weak. It's because you're living in a world designed to distract you. Psychologists call it structural attention deficit. Everything around you is built to keep you scrolling, reacting, and consuming instead of creating, building, or reflecting. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." But here's the problem, most of us don't even have space for our own thoughts anymore. We're too busy reacting to the next ping, the next viral video, the next trending topic. So let's flip this. Imagine you woke up tomorrow and decided exactly where your attention would go before the world hijacked it. Here's a simple but powerful exercise. Each morning, write down 4 things you truly want to focus on that day. Not vague things like be productive or feel better, but clear, concrete actions. For example, read 20 pages of a book that inspires you. Go for a walk without your phone. Call someone who lifts you up. Finish a project you've been avoiding. Once you've written them down, block time for each one in your day. Treat those blocks like unbreakable appointments, not optional, not negotiable. When you start doing this, you'll notice something surprising. You feel calmer. You feel more in control. Because you're no longer letting the outside world set the agenda for your mind. You're taking back ownership. The Stoics believed in the power of self-discipline not as punishment, but as freedom. Freedom from being yanked around by every impulse, every trend, every shiny distraction. Ask yourself, how many dreams have you postponed because your focus was scattered? How many goals have you started, only to let them slip away because you let the noise win? What if you decided today that your attention is sacred? That it's not for sale to the highest bidder? Your focus is your superpower. It's the bridge between your current self and the person you want to become. If you don't guard it, someone else will always decide your story for you. So tomorrow morning, before you pick up your phone, before you check your email, take a deep breath and choose your 4. Because every intentional decision you make is another brick in the strong, steady life you're building. A life that belongs to you, not the algorithms, not the expectations, not the endless noise. Your focus shapes your destiny. So tell me, what will your 4 be tomorrow? When life feels like it's falling apart, what do you reach for? Most of us think we need motivation, that spark, that perfect morning where we feel inspired and unstoppable. But let's be honest, those days are rare. And when everything is crashing down around you, motivation is the first thing to disappear. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't rely on inspiration to act, they built steady routines that carried them forward no matter how they felt. Imagine a ship in the middle of a storm. It doesn't stay afloat because the captain is feeling motivated. It stays afloat because the sails were set, the knots were tied, and the systems were in place long before the storm hit. That's exactly what your habits are, your personal safety ropes when the winds pick up and the waves crash. Let me share something personal. During one of the hardest chapters of my life, when nothing seemed to work, when I felt disconnected and lost, there was one thing that kept me from sinking completely: my simple morning routine. I wasn't running marathons or meditating for hours. I was just doing 3 small things: making my bed, going for a 10-minute walk without my phone, and writing a few lines in my journal. These tiny rituals didn't fix everything. But they anchored me. They reminded me that even when my mind was a mess, I could still show up for myself in small, tangible ways. So here's a question for you: what are the 3 small actions you can commit to, no matter what? Not big, flashy resolutions. Just simple, grounding habits you can hold on to even on your worst days. Maybe it's stretching for 5 minutes. Maybe it's making your bed. Maybe it's brewing your coffee slowly and savoring it in silence before the day begins. These aren't meant to impress anyone. They're not for social media. They're for you. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, but learning to dance in the rain." Your habits are your dance steps. They won't stop the rain, but they'll teach you how to keep moving even when the sky is dark. Think of them as your pillars. On good days, you might barely notice them. But on the bad days, when you're anxious, heartbroken, or exhausted, they're what keep you standing. So today, take a moment to design your emergency routine. Write down 3 simple actions that you can do no matter how chaotic life feels. Post them somewhere visible. Let them be your quiet promise to yourself. Because when everything else feels shaky, these small acts become your foundation. They remind you that you have power, even if it's just over a tiny corner of your day. Motivation is fleeting. Habits are forever. So, my friend, what are your 3? We live in a world obsessed with motivation. We scroll through endless videos looking for that one quote, that one hype song, that one perfect push to finally get us moving. And it works for a minute. You feel fired up. You make big plans. But then, the energy fades, life gets messy, and you're right back where you started. Here's the hard truth: motivation is a terrible strategy for building a life. Because motivation is like a guest who shows up unannounced. Sometimes it visits, sometimes it doesn't. And if you wait for it before taking action, you'll spend your entire life waiting. What you really need isn't motivation. You need direction. Think of your life like a ship. If you set sail without a clear destination, every wave, every gust of wind, every passing current can send you anywhere and nowhere at all. But when you have a clear direction, you adjust your sails, you move forward even when the wind is against you. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up every day thinking, "Am I motivated to lead an empire today?" No. He acted from a deep sense of purpose and duty. That's what carried him through betrayal, war, and illness. So let me ask you, do you know your direction? Here's a practical challenge. Every Sunday night, or any day you choose, ask yourself, what concrete action can I take this week that aligns with the person I want to become? Don't write vague goals like be healthier or work harder. Make them real and specific. I will go to the gym twice this week. I will read 5 pages before bed. I won't check my phone until after breakfast. Then, and this is important, give your direction a name. For example, instead of saying, I want to exercise more, say, I am someone who protects my health. Instead of I want to save money, say, I am someone who builds financial freedom for my future self. Naming your direction makes it personal. It turns a task into an identity. And when you act from identity, you don't need to feel motivated, you just show up because that's who you are. Imagine how different your days would look if you stopped asking, do I feel like it today? And started asking, what would the future version of me do today? That shift is powerful. Because you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You're no longer a leaf blowing in the wind of your feelings. You're the one steering the ship. So today, don't wait for motivation to magically appear. Choose your direction. Define it. Name it. And start moving. Even small steps, taken with purpose, build unstoppable momentum over time. Your life isn't waiting for motivation. It's waiting for you to choose. So, my friend, what direction will you choose this week? And more importantly, who are you choosing to become? Have you ever ended a day feeling completely exhausted, but when someone asks what you did, you can't even explain why you're so drained? It feels like your body is heavy, your mind is foggy, and every simple task feels like climbing a mountain. But here's the surprising truth, most of that exhaustion isn't coming from your body, it's coming from your soul. Let me share a story. Mia Freedman, a well-known Australian journalist and podcast host, once seemed like she had it all together. She was interviewing big names, running projects, and managing countless responsibilities. From the outside, she looked unstoppable. But inside, she was crumbling. Mia spent years carrying the weight of everyone else's emotions, always saying yes, always pretending she was fine. She wore the mask of the strong one, the one who could handle it all. But when she finally broke down, no one noticed. Because when you're always the caretaker, people forget to check on you. Her collapse wasn't caused by lack of sleep or physical exhaustion. It was the quiet, invisible fatigue of living disconnected from herself, of always prioritizing others over her own truth. Sound familiar? We're taught to keep going, to stay busy, to always be on. We think that saying yes makes us good people, that always being available means we're strong. But in reality, every unnecessary yes is a small betrayal of ourselves. So, here's a practical exercise. Look at your yesterday. Literally write down everything you did. Meetings, calls, social interactions, even small favors. Then, next to each item, mark whether it gave you energy or drained it. You'll quickly see the hidden patterns, the people or activities that quietly steal your light. Now comes the hardest and most freeing part, learning to say no. I know, it sounds simple. But saying no without guilt is an art. You don't have to explain your life story or apologize endlessly. A clear thank you, but that doesn't work for me is enough. Every time you say no to something that drains you, you say yes to your peace, your creativity, your presence. The Stoics taught us that we're not responsible for everything and everyone. Epictetus reminded us to focus only on what we can control, and that starts with our own boundaries. Imagine how much lighter your days would feel if you stopped overcommitting, stopped carrying emotions that weren't yours to hold, and started honoring your own capacity. Your energy is not infinite. It's a precious resource. And if you spend it all on trying to please, fix, or carry others, there will be nothing left for the most important person in your life, you. So today, take inventory. Choose one thing you'll say no to this week. Protect that energy. Give it back to yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's not your body that's tired, it's your spirit asking for space to breathe. We all carry stories from our past. Some are bright, full of laughter and warmth. Others are heavy, hidden deep inside, carried like invisible luggage that drags behind us wherever we go. But what if I told you that your past isn't a weight meant to break you, it's a mine filled with gold, waiting to be discovered? Let me share a powerful example. Najiba Najwa Zebian, a writer and speaker, moved to Canada as a child, carrying the weight of war and displacement from Lebanon. She felt out of place, ashamed, and silenced for years. She tried to blend in, to sound like everyone else, to hide her story so she wouldn't stand out. Then one day, after going through another heartbreak, Najwa realized something powerful: no one was coming to save her. No one else could transform her pain into something meaningful. That responsibility and that power was hers alone. So she started to write. Her raw pain turned into poetry. Her silence turned into books that now inspire millions worldwide. She didn't run from her past, she dug into it and turned it into her greatest gift. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom: what stands in the way becomes the way. Think about your own life for a moment. Is there a chapter in your story that still haunts you? A failure, a betrayal, a heartbreak that makes you feel small or ashamed? What if that moment isn't a block on your path, but the very thing that could open a door to your greatest strength? Here's a challenge, and it's not easy, but it's life-changing. Take out a notebook. Write about the hardest moment you can remember. Don't hold back. Let it pour out exactly as you felt it. Then, once it's on the page, read it again, but this time, from the perspective of the person you are today. Ask yourself, what did I learn from this? What new boundaries did it teach me? What hidden strength did it reveal? Then, go one step further, turn that story into a letter to someone else going through something similar. What would you say to them? What truth would you share to help them stand up again? You don't have to publish it. You don't even have to show it to anyone. But keep it. Because that letter is proof that your past didn't destroy you, it built you. Imagine shifting your mindset from "why did this happen to me" to "what did this teach me?" When you start to see your past not as a prison but as a treasure mine, everything changes. You stop running. You stop hiding. And you start owning every chapter of your story. Your scars aren't shameful. They're your credentials. They show that you survived, you learned, and you grew. So today, I invite you to stop carrying your past as a burden. Start mining it for gold. Because hidden in those dark moments are lessons that can light the way forward for you and for others. What stands in the way becomes the way. So tell me, what will you find in your mind? There's a simple truth we don't talk about enough: if you don't respect yourself, nothing else you build will last. Let me share a story. Imagine a tree in a big, crowded forest. This tree desperately wants to be liked by every other tree around it. The oak tells it to be strong and solid, so it tries to grow thicker branches. The willow says, "Be graceful and bendy," so it tries to bend. The apple tree insists it should bear fruit, so it tries to do that too. But no matter how hard it tries, it can't be everything at once. Its roots weaken, its trunk cracks, and it stops growing altogether. This is exactly what happens to us when we try to meet everyone else's expectations, when we say yes to everything, downplay our needs, and constantly betray our own word to ourselves. How many times have you promised yourself something and then ignored it? I'll start that project next week. I'll set boundaries with that person. I'll finally take care of my health. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you chip away at your own trust. You teach yourself that your word doesn't matter. And if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else? The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus taught that self-respect isn't about ego or pride, it's about integrity. Doing what you know is right, even when it's uncomfortable. Even when no one else is watching. So, how do we rebuild that respect? First, identify your abandoned promises. Take a notebook and write down the commitments you made to yourself but didn't keep. Big or small, it doesn't matter. Just get them out of your head and onto paper. Next, pick one. Just one. And act on it today, even if you feel unprepared. Start the blog. Make the difficult phone call. Sign up for the class. Do it messy, do it scared, just do it. Then, learn the power of a simple, firm no. You don't owe anyone an essay explaining your boundaries. "Thank you, but that doesn't work for me" is enough. Every time you say no to something that dishonors you, you say yes to your growth and your peace. I know this isn't easy. It wasn't for me either. I used to overcommit to please everyone, colleagues, friends, even strangers online. I thought saying yes meant I was kind and strong. But in reality, I was slowly shrinking. The moment I started keeping my word to myself, everything changed. My confidence grew. My energy came back. And most importantly, I started to like the person I saw in the mirror. Remember, your self-respect is the foundation of everything else. Your relationships, your work, your health, all of it rests on whether or not you trust yourself to stand by your own word. So, today, I challenge you, what promise will you keep to yourself? And what will you finally say no to without guilt? Because when you start respecting yourself, you stop living for applause. You start building a life that feels strong from the inside out, a life that doesn't collapse at the first sign of challenge. And that, my friend, is where real freedom begins. Let me ask you something. If tomorrow were your last day on earth, would you still spend it trying to impress people who barely know you? Would you keep editing your words, filtering your choices, and molding yourself to fit someone else's expectations? Or would you finally live it, fully, unapologetically, as you are? So many of us spend our lives playing to an invisible audience. We wear the right clothes, choose the right job, share carefully curated moments online, all to prove something. To show that we're worthy, successful, interesting. But here's the harsh truth: no one is watching as closely as you think. Take the story of Jewel, the singer-songwriter who shot to fame in the 90s. At the peak of her success, she had the fame, the money, the endless applause. But inside, she felt completely disconnected from herself. She realized she was living for the audience, not for her soul. So she stepped away. She disappeared for a while to reconnect with who she truly was, beyond the spotlight. Her greatest success didn't come from the loudest applause, it came from the quiet moments where she chose herself over the crowd. Imagine what your life might look like if you stopped living for likes, for approval, for validation. What if you made choices not because they look good on a resume or in an Instagram story, but because they feel right to you? Here's a challenge: try going 1 week without posting anything. No updates, no photos, no explanations. Watch how uncomfortable it feels at first. Notice how tempted you are to prove yourself or share a win. Then breathe. What if you made a big decision and no one ever found out? Would you still do it? This is where true freedom begins. The Stoics taught us that we should never tie our peace to external opinions. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Because when you stop playing for the crowd, you finally start living for yourself. When you choose to act from your own values, even if it means people think you're weird, or reckless, or too quiet, you build an unshakable life. A life that stands even when applause fades, when trends change, when no one notices. Ask yourself, how many decisions in my life were really mine? And how many were made to be seen, to be accepted, to fit in? When you stop needing to prove yourself, you start discovering what actually matters to you. You stop performing and start living. So today, I invite you to experiment. Make one choice this week purely for you. Don't share it. Don't look for validation. Just feel it. Let it be your quiet victory. Because you don't need to carry a sign saying, "Look at me, I'm running." You just need to run because you love the wind on your face. You don't need to announce your growth. True growth is silent, steady, and deeply yours. The moment you live as if you have nothing left to prove, that's the moment you truly come alive. So tell me, what would you do today if you stopped caring what anyone thought? So here we are. After everything we've explored together, I want you to pause and really take this in. Your life is not a stage. You are not here to perform for applause or to collect endless trophies that only gather dust in your soul. You're here to live fully, honestly, and deeply. Somewhere along the way, we learn to measure ourselves by how many people clap for us, how many likes we get, or how many times someone says, "I'm proud of you." But the real question is, are you proud of you? Because at the end of the day, it's not about who notices your journey. It's about whether you notice it. Whether you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I live today in alignment with who I truly am." The Stoics knew this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that he didn't need validation from others to act with integrity. Epictetus taught that we are responsible only for our own thoughts and actions, not how others perceive us. Imagine the freedom of waking up and no longer needing anyone else to tell you that you're enough. Imagine building a life so solid from the inside that even if no one claps, you still feel whole. What would you start if no one else ever found out? What would you let go of if you stopped caring about disappointing someone else? What would your days look like if they were designed only by you, for you? This is where real transformation begins. Not in the echo of cheers or the weight of gold medals, but in the quiet moments when you choose yourself over the noise. So today, I'm inviting you to make a promise, not to me, not to your family, not to your followers, but to yourself. Promise to stop living to please the world. Promise to start listening to that quiet voice inside that knows exactly what you need. Promise to respect your own path, even if no one else understands it. Because you don't need more applause. You don't need more titles or labels. You don't need to be seen to be real. What you truly need is to come home to yourself. To build a life from the inside out, one small, honest choice at a time. If you've watched all the way to this point, I know you're ready. You're not just someone scrolling for motivation, you're someone who's willing to do the work. So, drop this in the comments right now, I'm starting with me. Let that be your line in the sand. The moment you decide that your life is yours, and yours alone. Because when you start with you, everything else falls into place. And I promise, that's where the real magic lives.